Service, I believe. My sister was asked by George H.W. Bush and Jimmy Carter in 1978. They asked her to create something called the Senior Executive Service. And here's where
And there we go. Today is March 22nd, 2018, and I have with me David Hawkins. David, we are now live. How would you like to proceed?
Well, thank you, Craig, for this opportunity. And I'd like to cover off in the time available the story of the weaponization of the United States bureaucracy by a woman named Christine Marcy, who is the sister of my colleague at Able Danger, Field McConnell, the United States Marine Corps whistleblower. And just to take listeners back a little bit to my past as to why I have inferred that she's an extraordinarily dangerous woman who's weaponized the bureaucracy, I'll go back to my time at Cambridge.
I hope you were paying attention to what was said there. What I want to get through is the very important factors. But first of all, let's look at some of the stuff that you can find that was pushed out by Hawkins and McConnell. As you can see, this one's by Hawkins, and this one's on 2011. Christine Marcy, founder of the SES, surrenders to Field McConnell. Let's go to another one. Christine Marcy, Field McConnell's sister. Next one along. Let's go, keep going. Field McConnell, live from UK, SES Christine Marcy, phone call back to BB hospitalised. How about some more information on Christine Marcy, SES founder? Interesting, eh? And let's go down on this one. This one's another platform here called American Intelligence Media, who also kept pushing out about the SAS based on the facts presented to them by Field McConnell. Christine Marcy surrenders to Field McConnell. What's next? This one's particularly disgusting because in this one, it's really attacking many, many women. You can find it online. I'm not going to put all this stuff up, but you can see for yourself. It talks about snuff film and patent pools of support man in the middle attacks. The only person that talks like that is Hawkins, not McConnell. I want that to be understood. This is all Hawkins. Here we have Christine Marcy, head and founder of the SES, surrendered today. The deep state is over. Right, so somebody else is pushing this narrative. What I'm showing you is the viral extent of what went on here. The site can't be reached. All right. Christine Marcy, founder of the SES, senior executive service, turns herself into brother Field McConnell. Another part of the story here. Now, this one's even more interesting. The untouchable shadow government senior executive service was started in 1978 during the Carter admin by Field McConnell's sister, Christine Marcy. This is all being created by one person. One person called Hawkins. And I want to make it quite clear. As you can see, I'm pulling up more and more stuff here. We have another one of Hawkins here and other stories that Hawkins made. We're going to go through each one of them as we go along. And we're going to talk about it. You see, what's very important to understand is that there's two separate platforms that you heard from. One of those platforms, two individuals that were in discussion with one of these gentlemen, both knew about Christine Marcy, and they both knew about what I'm about to show you. I'm going to take you through and show you how easy it is and give you all the information. But first, what we must do is go to the actual evidence that was presented to me as their evidence. And we're going to go through it because this document that they presented is vitally important to understanding all the disinformation and how it led to where we are now. So let's go and look at that document. Now, this is the newspaper article that has caused all the controversy and all the arguments. And it's written by a woman called Judy Mann. In the next presentation I will be spending a bit of time about this and Judy Mann and the story behind one of the most heinous things that Hawkins and his new co-host has spread along over the years. But here I want to start off with Christine Marcy, now a supergrade in the Office of Personnel Management, had her first child 2.5 years ago when she was a budget examiner in the Office of Management and Budget at nights. She was finishing up her law degree at George Washington University. So, 77, she was doing a law degree. Now, this is written in August the 8th, 1979. Well, what we have to do is also understand how the structure of this system works, otherwise understanding the bureaucracy and the layout of it. So what is a super grade? What is a pay grade, obviously? Well, where does it come from? Well, let's have a look at what that is, shall we? So what we have here is a breakdown of the system. You have GS 1 to 15. The general schedule grades is a pay scale, set up in grades of from 1 to 15. Now, prior to 79, there used to be 16, 17 and 18, and these were classed as super grades. In 79, as you can see here, Christine Marcy now a super grade, so she was recently promoted into a GS 16 at that time. Okay, so she was a low level at that point. Now, what we have to also understand, after 1979, we have now the new pay scale of working above GS 15 pay grade are considered senior executives, and their pay scale is ES 1 through to ES 6. As all it is it literally is a pay scale, so we have to understand that factor. Now, let's move on to the evidence. Let's begin by looking at the evidence, what we have. Let's go back a bit. This was written in 2007 by Hawkins as a lawsuit. And if you notice, here's Christine Marcy. Now, I purposely put that up a couple of times ago to see if anybody noticed something. Do you notice that she doesn't have the mention of founder of SES? Now, also here we have 1st of July 2007. Let's go down. Surely in here it will say she's the head of the SES. Spinning of evidence. No. There she is there, but no mention of the head of the civil service. Sorry, of the SES, or the creator of the SES. Surely McConnell would have known this, since it was his sister. He's been telling us all this time, and through Hawkins has told McConnell. But let's go to the Civil Service Commission nomination of Alan K. Campbell to be Commissioner. April 5th, 1977. This is important. Remember what was said at the very beginning. 1978. Now, this is the American Presidency Project. And here you see the President today announced that he will nominate Alan K. Campbell of Austin, Texas, to be the Civil Service Commissioner. Doesn't say Christine Marcy. And there's no mention of George Herbert Walker Bush, who, by the way, wasn't in the Senate at that time or in Congress. But this here is the statement of Alan K. Campbell before the House Subcommittee of Employee Ethics and Utilisation on June the 16th, 1977. This shows no sign of the word Christine Marcy. The Office of Personnel Management celebrates 40th anniversary of Civil Service Reform Act, which was completed October the 13th, 1978. The American President Project again. Here we have Jimmy Carter of the Civil Service Reform Act and the signing ceremony. And it's quite a nice bit talking about things, but it's actually talking about the people he brought forward, like Representative Udall. You know, and you read through this and you start to realise there's no Christine Marcy in here, like Representative Nix. These are all congressmen or senators. Representative Drewensky, Senator Ribkoff, Representative Brooks. The President, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Senator Percy. And as you go down, you see that he's talking to it, Ken Blakelock, Mr. Campbell. So you have Mr. Campbell speaking there. Again, you have Scotty, you haven't said anything. Mr. Campbell, we started before you, Mr. President. We're talking about Alan K. Scotty Campbell, the guy that created the Civil Service Reform Act of 1978. We know also, here's the Washington Post article written in 1998 when he died. And it talks about that he was the Civil Service Reform Act of 1978. He was the architect of it, the architect of the innovative. I can't say the word; it's too long. But February the 6th, 1998, the Washington Post. Again, here we have a book. In an effort to address some of the problems President Carter established in May 1977, the Federal Personnel Management Project, under the joint leadership of the Civil Service Commission and the Office of Management and Budget, with then the chairman of the CSC, Alan Campbell, as its chairman. There's no mention of Christine Marcy or Herbert Walter Bush. Yeah, we've got Wayne Granquist there, but no Dwight Inc. But this one gets a bit more interesting. This was in 1977. Surely, because this is when the whole thing started in 77. Let's look at the names here. There's no Christine Marcy there. As you can see, this is documentation. This will all be linked below. You can go through it yourself. There's a lot to take in. This is a long video. This is going to be quite a long video today, and I apologise, but I want to make sure that you see all the evidence. Here we have Alan K. Campbell, the director of the Office of Personnel Management when it was first set up on January 2nd, 1979. He was the first director. And as you can see here, he was nominated by President Carter to be the Civil Service Commissioner April the 5th, 1977, and he was confirmed by the Senate in May of 1977. This actually comes from the Carter Library again. This is from January the 30th, 1978. Civil Service Reform Initiative. As you can see, there are all the names here, but guess what name is not on there? There's no Christine Marcy. Why is that, I wonder? I mean, after all, we've been told all this time by Hawkins and by McConnell that Christine Marcy was the main person. But here you can see that was where the Senior Executive Service came from. It came from the Civil Service Reform Act, and it's a pay grade. That is all it is. It is nothing more, nothing less. So this story being created by Hawkins because he doesn't understand what he's talking about. And as you see, it talks about GS 15 level, which is what I'm talking about. So they try to work out the pays, and this is the actual handwriting of Jimmy Carter on there. But we have the high turnover OPM's revolving door, July the 5th, 1979. This is important. Well, I'll take it down. I have to find what I'm looking for. Have I gone past it? Yeah, I've gone past it. Hang on a second. Bear with me. There you go. Obviously, the new OPM officials, Campbell, Director Alan Campbell, Sugarman, Deputy Director Yul Sugarman, have new and different ideas. So there you go. No Christine Marcy. She isn't the Deputy Director. She's not the Director of the Office of Personnel Management, which implemented the formation of the Senior Executive Service. This is October the 13th, 1978, the Daily Diary of President Jimmy Carter. And this is all the people he met on the day of the signing of the Senior Executive Service Civil Service Reform Act of 1978, because that was all part of the package, along with 3 new departments. Civil Service Reform Act of 1978, the conflicting functions of the Civil Service Commission, and again, talking about what was going on and who was involved in it. Alan Campbell, again. Here's another piece of information here with the Civil Service, and Alan K. Campbell's name is there again. Like I said, all this will be linked below so you can see for yourself, you can go through it yourself, you can click on other links. What I'm showing you is literally how much evidence there is out there to show that this story that Hawkins has put out and McConnell is so easily proven to be a lie. So why is it these platforms have not done this due diligence? Here again, Personnel Management Reform, Civil Service Commission Chairman Alan K. Campbell. No mention of Christine Marcy. Now this again is why I'm pointing out about these platforms. Not one of them has done this. All these so-called investigative journalists, etc., all of them, Not one of them has bothered to do any of this research. Jimmy Carter Civil, this is written by Stuart E. Eisenstadt, one of the main guys that was on the Civil Service Reform Act of 78. Surely Christine Marcy's name would appear in there. No, it doesn't. So this is why it's now starting to show the flaws in everything going on here. Here we have the history of the Senior Executive Service, which is very interesting. And it talks about supergrades were civil servants who held GS 16, 17 and 18 positions. Congress created the GS scale in the supergrade positions in 1949. So in other words, this was an upgrade of that pay scale. So no longer 16, 17 and 18, they now become the Senior Executive Service. And it talks about President Dwight D. Eisenhower was also trying to do this. So this is something that wasn't new. It was in the pipework for a long time because the system they had was outdated and they wanted to upgrade it. Here again, we have the Federal Labour Relations Council, Civil Service, and again, this is all to do with Mr. Alan K. Campbell. Again, we have another Civil Service one. Chairman Alan K. Campbell. There is no mention anywhere of Christine Marcy in any of these. Let's make this one a bit bigger. Hang on. Let's pump this one up. Let's pump it up. I'll tell you what. This from Senator Ribkoff. This is Civil Service Reform. Pleasure to work often on a daily basis with Dr. Campbell for the past half a dozen years. He has been enormously helpful to the members of the Association of dozens of subjects. For Dr. Alan Campbell for appointment as Chairman of the Civil Service Commission. So this is one of the letters. Here we got another documentation here. Civil Service Reform, Alan K. Scotty Campbell. Talking about the man behind the Civil Service Reform. Obviously, ultimately, it was President Jimmy Carter because it was his idea, but he implemented the thing through Scotty Campbell. Now, this one makes it more interesting. Here, we have a factor to look at. Christine Marcy never intended to make a career in government, but she met some life-changing mentors at a federal internship in 1967. She stayed and graduated at law school and rose through the ranks to of the general schedule. So when President Jimmy Carter signed the Civil Service Reform Act in 1978, which ultimately created the Senior Executive Service, Marcy jumped at the chance to shed her status as a supergrade executive and join the SES. It was an easy transition and I very much wanted to be labelled of Senior Executive Service, she said. I saw myself as somebody who wanted to be stimulated, somebody who wanted to be challenged. There you have it. No mention that she created the Senior Executive Service. In fact, quite the opposite. She joined the Senior Executive Service. And this is the Federal News Network, which also talks about here the stars aligned for civil service reform in 1978. All this evidence is there. And this is why I have been banging on about this. General Public Alan Campbell, who served as the first OPM Director and former Chairman of the US Civil Service Commission. Here we have a letter. And we're going to make this bigger so you can see for yourself. So if this person was the head of everything and the creator of the SES, surely in this letter she would be mentioned as such, don't you think? The NRE respond promptly and effectively and implemented SES. We conducted agency-wide orientations for all senior executives with the assistance of OPM staff. I particularly want to thank Sully Greenberg, Christine Marcy and their staff at the OPM headquarters for their assistance in our orientations. In other words, they showed him around the office and the building. On July the 13th, 1979, 100% of the eligible NRLB executives at the time converted to SES. To date, we have 65 approved SES positions, of which 63 are filled. Of the 63, 62 are career appointees. Now, I wonder where and who done this. I mean, like I said, I'm showing you all this evidence now that actually completely debunks not only McConnell but Hawkins in such a massive way. And this letter is written, as you see, about the SES. But who done it? Ah, yes, the Honourable Alan K. Campbell, Director of the Office of Personnel Management. So, dear Scotty, National Labour Relations Board. So now you see for yourself how much information is out there on the Senior Executive Service and the creation of it, which puts to lay to rest what McConnell said at the very beginning of this video, that his sister was commissioned by President Jimmy Carter. Well, that's beside the point, because what I have now is shown you that the two gentlemen that were involved in that interview with Phil McConnell, both of them knew of Alan K. Scotty Campbell. They knew because I was the person that told both of them. But instead of saying to him, hang on a minute, Mr. McConnell, where is your evidence? No, they didn't do that. What they did was they carried on pushing the nonsense with him. In fact, verifying that what he was saying was correct, and at the same time smearing the person that gave him that information. Now, I am saying quite clearly that Kim Picasio, Christine Marcy and Jessica Marcy's lives are at risk, and I'm not being hyperbolic, because soon enough Mr. McConnell will face justice. And what concerns me is that maybe one of these cultists that follow him will become unhinged and take the law into their own hands. We've already seen at that Daniel Lee's conference where the gentleman got up and stated how he was following Kim Picasio, and they had photographs of her. This has created a situation that in my mind is extremely dangerous, and yet these platforms that have pushed these people bear also the responsibility, because not one of them has done due diligence or has bothered to actually prove what these people have been saying. Instead, what they have done, they have spread it even further. It's time we stood up and stopped this, and now we have to face the facts we're going to have to expose. Not only just McConnell, Hawkins and Homsef, because they're the root cause of it, but the bigger problem are the platforms that promote their nonsense. And that is why it is important that we start to get to question these people and say to them, where's the evidence? And get them to prove what they're saying is factual. In fact, saying, have you checked to see what they're saying is truthful? It's time to pay the piper.